Are you tired of feeling like you have to blindly trust the so-called experts? Do you feel like science is being used to control and manipulate you rather than truly understand the world? If so, you're not alone. In this video, we will explore the dangerous ideology of scientism, the belief that science is the only way to understand the reality. We will see how this religion is being used to numb our critical thinking and keep us in line. So, buckle up and get ready to challenge the notion that trusting the science is always the right thing to do. The truth may be more complicated than you think. First, let's quickly get aligned on the topic of science and scientism. See, the real science is not based on the authority of wearing the right clothes or having fancy titles attached to your name. Those traits are more in the religious ballpark than in the scientific one. As a concept, science is a mindset of questioning the so-called truths. Science admits its own ignorance and shortcomings. Furthermore, it is a curiosity and courage to question answers we are being given despite potential consequences. Science promotes being skeptical rather than accepting presented options. And it is this willingness to admit not knowing and skepticism that separate science from religion. See, it is the religions that focus on providing answers, while science actually focuses on asking the right questions. And due to these contrasting differences in the focus, I find science to be actually closer to spirituality than religion ever was and probably ever will be. When we stop questioning provided answers and put our faith in people proclaiming what the current science supposedly is, it is the moment we create a religion of science, which we call Scientism. It is a creed where the power of science will fix it all, a belief system where we do not have to take personal accountability and responsibility for our actions, because we buy the quick fixes the so-called scientists sell to us. It is visible in the pharmaceutical industry and in our way of handling the potential environmental catastrophe that we are heading towards. So why do we worship science? I think it's easier, more comfortable, it offers us a shift of responsibility and frees us from accountability for the outcomes of our choices. After all, why change your way of treating yourself and the world around you when you can simply trust the corporations to fix the problems they helped create? We discussed scientism in more details in our previous video, which I will link in the description down below. Okay, with that out of the way, let's discuss the dependency of science on society's constructs. So the next topic is whether the science is an independent entity. It is an interesting aspect of current approach to science, as it being seeing it as an independent entity in the human world. People think that science operates on its own set of rules and morals, with truth as the core value. I understand the appeal of this idea. It makes science pure, independent of the flaws of our society. And everyone I ever spoke with admits that society is a flawed construct. But science, when viewed independently, feels like an incorruptible idea. Unfortunately, I believe it's just wishful thinking. Science is dependent on people who practice it and systems that govern these people. And both of these aspects of science are deeply flawed. Scientists have their own agendas, egos, desires, problems, and biases. They need to put food on the table just like each one of us. And similarly, they desire the same thing we all do: the recognition for their work, and being rewarded. Thus, they are susceptible to corruption from the systems that reward and recognize them for their work. After all, scientists need money to accomplish research. And who decides which scientists acquire grants for their studies and which do not? The human world is currently dominantly capitalistic. Thus, the money is in the hands of corporations leading the industries in which scientists specialize. So when it comes to choosing research for getting a grant, what subject do you think a scientist will propose? If they want to conduct the research, they better propose one that can benefit company financing them. And the benefits these companies care about in our current world are growth and profit. You know, the above dynamic would not really be a problem if the goal of corporations was the well-being of others. It would be a win-win situation if corporations' intentions were altruistic and empathic. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Society's model does not promote selfless interests. Take, for example, healthcare and the connected pharmaceutical industry. Their goal should be to heal people, to help you stay healthy, right? But financially, that industry benefits from people getting sick and perhaps most importantly, staying sick. It should honestly be called sick care. Furthermore, corporations do not revolve around decreasing suffering or creating a better quality of life for every living being. Sure, we do get sometimes some advancements that improve our lives, but think for a moment. Is making our lives the main goal or merely a byproduct of companies being able to sell the solution to us? What is being studied and considered are results that can be patented and sold to the public. And what about anything else? It is often disregarded, considered non-scientific and alternative. And when you think about that, you probably realize that your well-being is actually against corporate interests and goals. After all, if you are content, feel good in your body and in your mind, then why would you buy shit they try to sell to you? And with that in mind, can you start seeing how such a structure can result in a heavily biased selection of what is being studied, what is considered scientific, and what is being promoted? Of course, this does not mean that the science does not exist. Some individuals are devoted to finding the truth. There are people who remain dedicated to questioning society's current answers to find better ways. But those individuals retain their curiosity and brevity despite society's systems, not thanks to them. And thus, you won't find them in mainstream media or speaking in the name of governments. So a question you may be wondering about is, why is it even important right now? See, in this last few years, we've seen the culmination of this corrupt, religion-like direction of science with its connection to capitalism and governments with the topic of the COVID-19, where science became scientism. We were given one answer. There was one science to follow. Science created by entities that mainly wanted more power and more money than they already had. And as a result, we have given away physical and mental freedom to entities that do not have our best interest in mind. It was a science of quick fixes based on restrictions and injections preached by pharma and governed priests. We were all supposed to accept it, and many people quickly followed the given answers. Some of them, indeed, profoundly believed in the story told. Perhaps they still do. but the majority just followed out of fear of the social consequences of not doing so, or because they were too busy or too tired to bother. They wanted fear to go away by any means necessary and as fast as possible. You know, when you think about that, there were so many ways, different ways that we could have taken. We had options that would be scientifically way more sound than the one we stuck with for over 2 years. So why did we stick with what was not beneficial to anyone besides those in power? I think we did it mainly out of fear. And when mass fear enters people's minds, it is a moment we are shifting towards religious mindset of dogmatism and narrow-minded approach rather than curiosity and exploration of various solutions. See, traditional religions use fear of consequences in an afterlife to ensure your obedience here and today. Now, the trust the science religion, on the other hand, used fear of getting to the afterlife rather sooner than later to achieve a similar level of compliance. And unfortunately, both of these methods work exceptionally well for achieving submission and obedience. And whoever chose to question the dogmas of this trust the science cult was immediately labeled with pejorative terms. Such people were called unreasonable, dangerous, conspiracy theorists, or flat out crazy. People were named anti-science even though many displayed a scientific mindset to deal with the issue. In the eyes of religion, these outsiders were heretics, a threat to the safety of society, while I think in reality they merely threatened the power of the story majority believed in. And for those who did not really believe in the story told, but followed out of the fear, such people, the heretics, brought the unpleasant feelings of guilt and shame. Remember, the strength of religion is based on unquestioned devotion to the narrative by as many people as possible. If no one believes in a religion or the story it tells, then such a religion becomes an obscure cult, powerless, with a few devotees. So in conclusion, reflection on this topic is essential because that singular controlling narrative works so damn well and efficiently. Governments around the world amassed incredible amount of power over people, and corporations that sold us the so-called solutions made tons of money, and they all got away with it. So the question is, why wouldn't they do it again?